Race number 14 of this second round robin stage of the Louis Vuitton America's Cup qualifiers. Sweden against France, Outridge against Camas. The pair of them head to head, but facing a very different couple of weeks. One safely in the Challenger playoffs, the other, frankly, contemplating the beach.
Frank is not in a perfect spot right now. They're early and he's up high, and Nathan Outridge is in a really nice spot right now to be able to kind of either push him on the other side of that starting mark, or so the starting line well up here in front of us. Outridge is what we call in the lured position right now. Looks to me like they're both kind of late. They just might be gunning it towards the line right now. This might be an acceleration contest.
Yeah, this is looking like every inch the drag race at the moment. Slight change of course from the Swedes as they tighten up with the French, but
he's boxed out right now. Right now, Frank Camas does not have the legal means to get down inside there. If he can break the overlap, he can do it. If he doesn't break the overlap, he's in trouble.
So the protest lodged by the Swedes, Frank Camas has not judged that just to precision, and the decision pending.
Play-by-play commentary by Nathan Outridge. Come on, that's a foul, and sure enough, it is a foul. So he did not have the ability, there was an overlap, and he did not have the ability to squeeze his way in there. Very similar to what we saw in the very first race. You see that overlap, those bows right there are overlap with Frank Camas. That means he does not have the ability to force his way in. Even with a 6-inch overlap, overlap's an overlap. They have to slow down those two boat lengths.
Yeah, it's a painful process for the French from here, and the Swedes will stretch away past the first mark and downwind. Already steaming along at 32, 33 knots. Let's have a brief word with Richard Slater, the chief umpire. Richard, you're getting a lot of assistance from the boys out there on the boat today.
Yeah, we're certainly a bit busy today. Yeah, so we had France as a windward boat, failing to keep clear, and doing so at a start like that, we decided it was deliberate and gave them a double penalty over.
Thanks for your time.
Harsh. Somebody got out of the wrong side of the bed this morning. That Richard Slater is harsh. Here's a moment of truth typically for the French. How stable are they going through their maneuvers in this breeze?
Well, that largely an untroubled maneuver.
One of the best we've seen him do, so that's a good sign.
This wind speed's dropping a lot though, Ken, through the course of the day. With any luck, there'll be enough to come for the final race of the day, featuring the British against the Americans. But having started out at around 11 or 12, we're now down to 8 or so.
This is the forecast, although it is all happening a little earlier than people had thought. They thought this breeze drop might happen later in the day.
Ouais. Ça va être déjà bientôt.
Another job coming up for both boats.
Swedes looking smooth at this point. Seems to be quite the same noise coming off their boat today.
Clunking noise that always comes off Artemis. They don't have that squealing jet engine sound, which is nice for us and for
that's probably a good development.
All of our viewers and all the dogs watching
like
at home.
Improving design process.
But that clicking, clunking, everybody's hydraulic systems works differently, and there's at some stage we might be able to see under the hood and see why it's making that noise. Oof.
So the French deciding to split the course, but they've really slowed up in that maneuver as they round the gate.
That double jibe, what some of the teams call a Celia, to do that tough last second jibe around the bottom mark.
Is that a late decision from the French, Ken, to take this path?
You know, I'm sure if they had that back again, they would have just followed straight on in, because that's almost a race ender if you don't pull it off the way they did. Right-hand wind shift though, but Artemis heading for that shift.
Pressure in front. So we do hard on starboard.
Well, they've lost a lot of ground, the French, and the Swedes will look to capitalise now.
Yeah, we will be now. Pressure's up too, don't take it into height when you can.
4 wins, 5 defeats for Nathan Outridge here in Bermuda. 2 of those wins yesterday, when it really just looked as if everything was beginning to click.
20 seconds.
And I like seeing that aggressive action at the start. He easily could have just put the hammer down and probably been first to the mark. Hopefully France might have just gone outside the boundary.
Just inching their way in, and they've picked up another penalty as a result. So for the Kiwis in the opening race of the day, Reed, the French here against the Swedes.
A lot of
self-inflicted pain, that one.
Exactly. And a lot of times it's easy for the helmsman just to win a start and take a little bit of a win, but Nathan went for the kill there. He didn't just put the hammer down and try to beat the guy to the mark. He tried to end the race early, and that's a sign of a confident match racer.
Better pressure in front.
Something that Nathan has continually told us that they've been working really hard on over the last months, is to improve his match racing abilities, because let's face it, he's a flat-out fast Moth 49er dinghy sailor. Not a lot of match racing in his past, so it's something that's certainly been working on.
Okay. Nice work, boys. Good pressure on the boundary in front. No, it doesn't. That's okay, left mark slightly. Take it down.
So looking like something of a procession for the Swedes, but the French getting all their messages out as they head out of this competition here. Merci Bermuda. That will be thanks that will be echoed through all the teams. The venue here, second to none. Wonderful stadium racing, close to the shoreline, the perfect amphitheatre in the great sound for all the spectators to see the action. And kind, friendly faces everywhere you go to help you on your way. Yeah, not especially clean, but they look to recover reasonably quickly.
9 knots of wind speed out there right now, so not probably the perfect breeze for their heavier air packages. Maybe go back to Guy and Dean out on the race course. Guy, I think it's up to you to announce to the world Emirates Team New Zealand is in a nice little spot, being the winner of the challenger side here. Guy, who are you going to choose in the semifinals?
Yeah, I don't think I'll be announcing that right now, but
come on.
Disappointing.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess it gives us some nice options, and you know, having a good look at all the racing today, we'll be able to make a good decision on who we pick, and hopefully that works out for us further down the track.
Well, I know they've got a lovely chase boat out there for him to sit on, but I didn't realise it actually had a fence on the boat, because he's sat firmly on it. Sorry, Guy. Sorry for putting you in that very awkward position, but we got to have a shot.
Yeah.
Good, nice try.
We haven't taken. It's not the last run we've taken at you here today, so just stand by. Getting lighter on the race course. There's no doubt about that. These guys are struggling to foil a little bit right now with the heavy air foils in the boat.
25.
So, Guy, you're saying that clicking is the hydraulic part of their main sheet system, you believe, on Artemis?
Yeah, I think all these teams are running the pretty different setups. So you'll see in here things going on the boats. Some strange sounds, quite new to the sport, I guess. But yeah, until this is all over, we'll all be revealed then.
Ali, it's interesting, the teams won't purposely just kind of show us all under the hood when this thing is all said and done, but in this world of kind of intermixed professional sailing, a lot of these teams will have members of other teams involved with them right away. So really, even though you're trying maybe to keep some things a secret, nothing's a secret anymore. The teams are going to know what everybody did for every little bit and piece on their boats as soon as this event is over.
So with any luck, you're getting a pretty good idea by now, those of you who've been with us in Bermuda over the course of the last few days, about exactly how these boats are powered, the hydraulic energy that's generated by the grinders on board. But we came across a pretty decent analogy, I think, not so long ago in describing it all regarding a set of bagpipes, effectively. You want to play the tune, i.e. you want to trim your wing, you want to be able to manipulate your boat in the way that you'd like, and these guys are basically putting air in the bag, and then that air can flood through the pipe so the tune can be played.
Yeah, exactly. Go beyond it. There's a bit more pressure beyond it.
Do you play the bagpipes, Kenny?
I don't, but I'm so intrigued. I'm so intrigued that I may now. I mean, I'm going to get lessons as soon as I'm done with this. That's fantastic. That was inspirational, by the way.
Well, there is no shortage of hot air in this commentary box. One thing we know, it is tough work for big, strong men. And even those who you meet who are ripped in every which way, some of them, if they're not prepared to put out the numbers, if they can't physically put out the numbers to generate the sort of power that these boats need, they're getting left off the team.
That's exactly right. And some of the fittest people you've ever met in your life are not strong enough to make it on these teams. They all have heart rate monitors, which I believe we're going to actually be getting a little access to here at some stage as we go into the semifinals, to see what kind of loads and pressures and physical strains on these guys that we've seen. They're all two-a-days now, the two-a-day workout programs, Olympic training regimes that are really much more like distance athletes, you know, long-distance rowers, swimmers. That's the type of training that these guys have done. Nothing like the America's Cups of the past, where it's mainly just strength.
Yeah, it is. 2, 1,
So they're a long way out in front here. Nathan Outridge's team scurrying to and fro across the platform and making sure that everything is running smoothly.
Really a final day test for these guys. They look pretty smooth.
And a tough next couple of minutes for the French team. You were talking to me in advance of today, Kenny, about what they might do from here. Clearly, in the broad brush sense, the next question is, do you keep this team together in some way, shape or form for another assault on the Cup? But in the short term, is there a possibility of them sticking around in Bermuda, maybe operating on some kind of level as practice partners for the USA, who of course won't be match racing?
You never know. I believe it's in the rules, and I'm not sure if Richard can hear us, but I'm pretty sure it's in the rules that Team USA has equal time. They can use this race course, even though the semifinals are going on, and I believe they can test against others. So who they test and train against, or if they just go off on their own, it'll be really interesting to see.
Is it preferable? I mean, I'm assuming it's preferable to have somebody to race against.
Yeah, well, you always want a benchmark, but the problem is your benchmark might be changing every day. If they somehow got Team France to be the benchmark, they could keep them exactly the same and actually benchmark, and actually find out if their improvements were working based off of a constant rather than a moving target, which other teams are moving targets very often. getting lighter out on the race course right now. Ali down to 8.5 knots or so on the race course. Leg 5. We were around that one gate one more time, then that quick little run, which was a major moment in the last race. That's the shortest, certainly the shortest leg we've seen after we round gate 5 and around the final mark heading towards the finish. Breeze is getting lighter all the time, as we see in the flags, not exactly flailing out there. These guys are sailing displacement mode with their heavy air wings, or heavy air foils inside the boat today, not popping out of the water very effectively.
And that presumably was based upon the fact that the forecast wind speeds were much, much greater than this. So at what point do they have to make the call about the kit that they're going to be using?
Yeah, it's an in-the-water thing. They have to put these foils in before they go in the water. And once they're in the water with them, it's a project to change them. So, yeah, these foils are a morning time decision. They really rely, even though we're in this really short course racing, they very much rely on the weather programs that they have, the people that are in charge of meteorology within each of the programs.
So there really is no opportunity between races to go about changing your foils. If you're racing in race 1 and then 3, say, would that be time enough?
Yeah, I'm sure they could adjust like the 4.5 rake, but they could put on a bigger jib. You know, we might see the code. This is a code 2 jib on board the boat, 2 of 3 different sizes. They do have a jib that's almost twice this size that they could put in. Maybe I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen that larger jib. We might in the next race between USA and Great Britain. We might see the big jibs come back on again.
Good pressure to tack in about 20. See it?
So in the meantime, the Swedes oozing confidence.
Pressure in 5. Any time for that. See you're in it.
24 knots as opposed to the French at the bottom of the course. 10 knots slower and labouring their way forwards. Fly time, a big differential there as well.
Yeah, that's the story. That we always knew that when we came to Bermuda, this fly time was going to become a key number, and nothing more obvious than the difference between these two boats right now. You're out of the water, you're fast. You're in the water, you're not. And it sounds reasonably basic, but there's not much more to say.
So the next leg, a very short one, as previously described. And the Swedes, who of course have never won the America's Cup,
Hold a bit.
beginning to find a degree of consistency. They've been bothered both here and in the Louis Vuitton America's Cup World Series by inconsistency. Talked up, very much talked up as they came into this competition 10 days or so ago. Olympians everywhere, not just Nathan Outridge. Ian Percy, of course, the tactician, a very, very key role for him on board. So already they're at the final mark, and they will stretch away now.
Don't forget, by the way,
the runway to victory.
Ian Jensen,
On your back first, come on.
the wing trimmer on board this boat. We always shortchange him. He was sailed with Nathan Outridge in their Olympic success in the 49er class, so I apologize to Ian. Look at that, they've shifted. You can see it's a copycat world. They've shifted the tactician back. Now, the only thing, unlike Oracle, he doesn't have a bicycle to ride on right now, but everything is copycat at this stage. Will they have a bike in by tomorrow morning? That's the interesting part.
Well, that would be something, wouldn't it? But as we know, not beyond the realms.
It doesn't seem to make any difference if I'm on the handles or not.
Gate 5 for the French. Still a fair way to go.
You hear Percy saying it doesn't matter whether he's on the handles or not. He's lobbying not to have to grind around the race course and just sit there and kind of be a tactician, I think.
At this stage, who can blame him? Feet up. We'll get him a a pair of slippers and a pipe.
You got to give guys like that credit, though. I mean, he's always been a fitness freak anyway, being a star gold medalist in the star class. But he really, these guys, to stay on the boat as a tactician, you had to up your game dramatically. So not only be the general manager, in essence, of the program, but to get fit enough to stay on board the boat. He's on the boat because he's fit to be on the boat, and it's not an easy deal, I can tell you that.
So here come the Swedes, zooming towards the finish line, 33 knots. And another exhibition race, really, for Nathan Outridge and his crew. Artemis Racing, a gathering force as we head to the playoff semi-finals, and offering a serious threat now. Finding form a little belatedly here on the Great Sound in Bermuda, but offering real signs of life at this point. Go big or go home, Nathan Outridge was saying in advance of this competition. They are beginning to go big, and I think there will be plenty who would like to avoid them come the final analysis in the playoffs.
I would have to agree, and they also get very high marks for the best flyby after the finish, between the finish line and the stands. They got a massive cheer from the huge crowd. I mean, really big crowd, even on a kind of semi-rainy day. Huge cheer for the best flyby by far we've seen, while not ending up in the parking lot. Very close.
Final reach for Groupama Team France. Their challenge drawing to a premature end, but as we have discussed previously over these last few days, a lack of time and a lack of funding ultimately probably the key factors in their elimination early on here in Bermuda.
I think that time bought technique too. We've seen a technique of all these teams, just the bar raised every single day, and once you start behind and everybody keeps getting better, it's hard to ever catch up that gap, and technique has led to speed in more ways than one. Final cruise in for Frank Camas and his squad, and they've certainly had the biggest smiles on their face this whole way through. It's easy to get frustrated if you're a French fan, but you know what? These guys are a team to be very, very proud of, with a pedigree that could lead them to great things in the future. We all hope.
So the final moments of the French challenge. It's the end for Frank Camas. It is the end for France here in Bermuda. Well beaten again. Perhaps an illustration in that race of the troubles that they have had here in Bermuda. Hugely popular. Lots and lots of French support, and in Frank Camas they have had the smiling face of the America's Cup. And there it is. He's still smiling, and he will be much missed in the latter stages of this competition.